All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pressure Unspoken. We have Misha, myself. Again, we have Miss London, my daughter. We have Miss Latoya, and we have Kia. And in the background, you may see her special guest, her daughter, her precious daughter, Genevieve. Thank you for joining, or thank you for watching us. Today, we're going to talk about grief and loss. And we really wanted to speak about this as I highlight my shirt that I have with my grandpa. I have this shirt and it looks distorted because, I've had this for a while, but I also want to, show this shirt in remembrance of him, my grandpa, Mr. Paul Jones, one of the greatest men I've known in my life. But again, just to speak to grief and loss, this is again another topic that we feel like fits into the category of pressure unspoken. A lot of times we don't know how to speak about things when tragedy hits us and hits close to home. We really also want to kind of hit on one of the first things I want to talk about is how we handle it. Everyone handles grief and loss differently. I had a conversation with my uncle, and I'll speak to, his testimony later on. But I had it through the lens, or I thought of it through the lens of how men cope versus how women cope. But he said, no, dig deeper, because we as individuals cope differently. So we want to speak to that. And then Toya, can you kind of just speak to, the pressures that people feel who are not directly affected by the grief or loss, but you do have like a friend or a loved one who has lost someone, and just the direction or not what to do, or how to help them or to be there for them.
So I am probably one of those people that there's been like tragic things, like you lose a friend, lost friends, but and being a comforter, because sometimes people find it really awkward, and you think your friends are going to be there for you, and then they don't know how to act because you're so upset. People just don't know how to deal with comforting others who are going through it, and that's something that we've got listed to, that's why we're here, so we can talk about those things. And people are going to tell you to get over it sometimes, and they're going to tell you that, that was such a long time ago. It doesn't change anything. And so again, we want to let people know it's okay to talk about those things. It's okay to reminisce, to have that cry, and to think of the positive things of what that person brought to you in your life and what you can do to keep their memory and do good things for yourself, because that's what they would want for you.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for me is, we always see, even if we think about Facebook or social media, or just in passing when you're texting that person that you're trying to outreach, I kind of lock up. I'm like, hey, I'm programmed in my mind to say, I'm praying for you. I send the flowers. I say, is there anything I can do for you? Because that's just kind of like how we're programmed to react to those situations where that may not be what someone wants to hear. Like, they truly lost someone and your flowers aren't going to help them. You saying, is there anything I can do? Because then they're like, there's nothing you can do. And so navigating that is something that I think we all have dealt with in our lifetime. And then I think just being open and just kind of asking that person when they are comfortable, that comfort level is going to be different for one person for another. One person may be comfortable speaking their testimony, in the days that follow. And, there are some that aren't comfortable until years have passed, and that's okay. There's no time limit. There is no time limit on grief or loss. Right. It just depends on that individual person. So I really just wanted to speak to that. And then I know for me, and then we'll get to Kia and she'll be able to speak to it more as well. For me, when I've dealt with, like the loss of Mr. Paul Jones, my grandmother Anita, we've had friends that we've lost. It's kind of like you go through those emotions. So there's the initial emotion of the shock, and you feel like it's kind of like you're in a dream, or not even a dream, a nightmare. Especially like when you first get that phone call. It's just like that initial reaction that you have. And then in the days that come, you know, how you feel. So now I want to segue into talking to Kia. And we let her know that this is a safe space. You know, if she feels like she gets emotional, I know I'm going to get emotional once I start talking about, you know, my uncle and my cousin that we did lose as well. But just to kind of intro Kia, she is London's aunt. I've known Kia. And I don't know why I always have to feel like I have to give a resume of how long I've known somebody on these podcasts. I don't know why. But I've known Kia since she was probably, I know she was in elementary. I think you were, because y'all were at what's the elementary school that Kate Haynes is when I dropped Kia's life. through her precious brother.
I remember Kia from 6th grade. Kia doesn't remember me, but 6th grade when I played basketball with Crystal Gregg, and Crystal would bring Bianca. She would bring her with her, and that's how we became friends in 6th grade. And I remember Kia running around, she's a little baby, but it's full circle.
So what we're going to talk about is, you know, there was the way that I can, and I have to be, you know, careful and the way that I introduce this. You know, there was a very tragic event that happened where Kia lost her sister, who was actually our classmate, and her sister was, you know, with child, 9 months pregnant. There was a tragic event that was just that just shook our whole community, and this was back in 2005. So now I just kind of want to, you know, ask these questions to Kia, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to it. And again, Kia, feel free to, you know, express yourself however you see fit. This is your life. This happened. This impacted you.
Right.
No, I was there during that time frame, but it impacted you directly. So this is your story to tell. So we're going to start with the first question, and then we'll go from there. So if you could, the first question I have is a few words on who your sister was to you and her personality.
My sister to me was, I mean, you know, she was my big sister. So it's like, you know, every girl needs their big sister. It's like their best friend and everything, that person that you go to about boys and school and like, you know, things like that. Her personality, I mean, she was probably like one of the funniest people that I know, or that I knew. She was, you know, always had people laughing. She was definitely like the kindest, smartest person. She was extremely nurturing. Like she cared about everyone around her. I mean, my mom, you know, growing up had to work all the time and, you know, take care of us 4 kids as a single mom. And my sister, she, you know, would step in and was like that second mom to us. You know, when my mom was working hard to take care of us at work. But my sister, she was probably like the coolest person and the nicest person that you could ever meet.
And I think me and Toya can add on to that, because we saw the classmate side of her. Like, you didn't mess with Bianca. She was straight up. She was so real. I love that about her. We kind of ran in different circles, so we weren't close, you know, because of that. But when you speak to those things,
that's so true.
It's so true. But I will also tell you, just because you were younger at that age, and we knew her in high school, but people knew not to mess with her.
Oh yeah, well, and that's another side of her. She was definitely, she could be feisty. I mean, nicest person ever. But I mean, if you just like I don't know, wronged her in any kind of way, it's like she's gonna handle it for sure.
Yeah, he was very strong. Okay, so the next question I would say is, where were you and how did you feel when you first found out and knew what happened?
So this is the part that I always get extremely emotional on, because when I talk on it, it takes me back like it was just yesterday. I mean, it's been 17 years, and when I speak on it, it literally just feels like it just happened all over again. So it was January 27th, 2005, and I was at my friend's house, and I was coming back from my friend's house that night. And my mom and my sister lived on the same street. So to get to my mom's house, you had to pass my sister's house. And she lived in a duplex. So when my friend's parents were driving me back home, we passed my sister's house. And as we passed it, there were cop cars there. So in my head, I'm like, okay, like, are they at my sister's house or are they at the house next to hers? You know, which one is it? So then we get to my house, and I go inside, and obviously my friend's parents wait because they're like, something's up. I go inside and I see all the TVs are on, and all the TVs are on, and like dinner was just kind of left where it was. Like everybody, you could tell it was just like get up and go. And then I called Bianca's phone first because, you know, something was up and I knew it was at her house. And obviously she didn't answer. And I think I remember calling Craig next. And I think it was him that told me, you know, like, come to the hospital. I don't remember if he said what had happened. I don't remember exactly at all. I just remember he was upset and told me to come to the hospital. So my friends take me to the hospital. And then I don't even remember who. I pull up and I saw like friends outside and everybody was crying, and I'm just like, you know, okay, so nobody's really still told me what happened. And then I get pulled into a room, and I look around the room and I can see my family, but I see that Bianca's not there. And that's when they had said that she had been shot. And, you know, in my head, like, that was all that they had told me. So in my head, she was still alive, because I didn't know anything. And then a little bit of time had passed, and my mom, she was calling out of work to let them know that she wouldn't be at work. And when she had said that, she had said, you know, I won't be there. My daughter passed away. And the whole time I thought that she was alive. And she wasn't. And then that's when I found out that she and Jamari had both passed away. And I just, it was like the worst day of my life. And it's just like I shut down after that, like completely shut down. And like after that, there's a lot that I don't remember. It was just, you know, she was gone. And then, I mean, I was a child, you know, when this happened. I was only 13. So it's like, what now? Like, what happens next? I remember that I left the hospital. I didn't go home with my family. I ended up leaving with I ended up leaving. I didn't go home. I don't know why exactly I didn't go home. It was just, it still wasn't real to me. So I ended up leaving and going back to my friend's house. But then the next morning, obviously I go, because I'm still like in disbelief. I'm like, this isn't real, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
The next morning, of course, like I go home, or I wake up and I go home and I'm like, this is very much real. And you know, everybody's there at the house, everybody's upset, and I'm just like, it is real. Like this is really happening. And it was just everybody was just so upset. Like it again, it still doesn't seem real. But I mean, it, like that day, it destroyed so many lives, and it completely changed, it changed all of us. I mean, we were kids, you know, I mean, and to go through something like that, to lose your sister, to lose, you know, her son, it was the absolute most devastating thing that I think any person could go through. And then of course, with it being such a terrible thing, such a terrible like instance, the way that it happened, it just makes it 1,000 times worse.
Yeah.
It was just it was hard.
Yeah, I remember, you know, I was away at school and, you know, got the call and came down, and I just remember just being there with your brother, and that night, you know, him not sleeping, and your mom being there and Orlando being there that first night. And I think that's a lot of people can relate to that. That first night is like, you're like, is this real? Like, is this really happening? What do we do next? Like that first night is a big piece of it. So I when you said you were gone, I didn't even know it, you know, probably because I was, you know, making sure your brother was okay. But I completely see what you're saying, how it just that nightmare thing, just not realizing that, just trying to figure out in your mind, is this real or not? So I totally understand that. And then this is something that you can answer if you want or if you don't, but how did you feel, you know, before and after the funeral?
So before, again, it was before, again, there was a lot of like things that were kind of up in the air as far as like what happened and everything.
Yeah.
And again, I don't remember if, oh yeah, okay. So before the funeral, like I was saying, there was a lot of like unknowns still as far as, you know, what exactly happened. And like I said, like what exactly happened, I don't remember if we found out everything before or after. Again, it was like 17 years ago. Oh, sorry. But
I remember it, like right up into, it was right before the funeral when they said what when the charges came out. Yeah, it was right before the funeral.
So before, I remember, obviously, like we were all devastated and everything. And then when things were kind of up in the air, we're like, oh, like, you know, feeling sorry because, you know, this person saw what happened and, you know, felt bad for him and everything. But then even came to my mom's house and had, you know, the nerve to speak to everybody as if he didn't know exactly what had happened. But then when we had found out what happened, it was like a slap in the face, because this person came to our house and
the memorial
hugged us, and, you know, and had the nerve to be upset as if he was that person that, like, he was so innocent in all of it. So I do remember that. I do remember him coming to my mom's house and hugging him and asking him, are you okay? And then, you know, finding out that it was him all along, it was a slap in the face for sure. And then, you know, at the funeral, it was something that obviously like being there and everything and seeing my sister and her son, it still almost didn't seem real. But whenever like it just didn't seem like it was her. I'm like, this isn't real. It's not her. It's not Jamari. And then, you know, when we go to bury them and everything, and you know, it's starting to set in a little bit. And then as we're like walking away, it's like, okay, like this is really happening.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is, you know, after funerals, everybody kind of just goes on with their lives. And us as a family, like we're left there to pick up the pieces. And it's, you know, we don't go on with our daily lives as we did before. Everything's different. Everything is changed. There's no normal anymore. I mean, we lost our sister. We lost, you know, a daughter. We lost our nephew. Everything was just different after the funeral. So it was very much, it was hard. And the thing is that day, just like, again, after the funeral, as we go on with like our daily lives and everything, it's just, nothing is the same anymore. Like we were all broken, so broken afterwards. And it's just, I mean, it's still hard to this day.
So that leads me into the next question. How do you cope, and what did your grief look and feel like? Like, how did you cope? Try to cope then? I mean, you were at a young age. How do you cope now? And what did it feel like? Which you kind of just spoke to it, like it didn't feel like your life was normal ever again. But how would you, even if you were to speak to someone now to give them advice on how, you know, how to cope and how you did cope?
So like I was saying, I was only 13 years old when it happened. So I was still a kid. And it was, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure my kid doesn't fall out of this wagon.
Uh-oh.
So it was, the thing is grief looks different for everyone. And I went through some of the absolute lowest points in my life over like years. You know, I was getting into trouble. There were days that I did not want to be here. There were days where I did not want to be here. And I'm sure that my brothers and my mom, you know, went through the same feeling where it's just like, why am I here? Why isn't Bianca here? Why, you know, of all people kind of thing. And like I said, I went through some of the lowest parts of my life, and over years, and it's hard to say exactly what like helped, what worked, but I do know that like Bianca wouldn't want us to you know, give up. She definitely wouldn't want us to, you know, to throw our lives away, to do anything, you know, bad. I do know that, like I said, it took years for me to, I mean, I'm still healing, and this is 17 years later. But it took years for me to get to a point where, you know, we're going to be okay without her. Never, not okay, but just, we learned to live without her. We learned to get by without her. And, but like I said, grief looks different for everybody. I have my good days. I have my bad days. I know that you know, my brothers and my mom, they have their good days. They have their bad days. And it's my thing is, I guess, just take it day by day. Definitely take it day by day, because like I said, you're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You could be having the best day ever, and then just something all of a sudden just triggers you. And it brings you right back to that moment where you kind of lost everything. And and I mean, I've never talked to anybody about this. Like, I mean, I've talked to friends, I've talked like here and there, I've talked to Thomas here and there, but I've never actually sat and spoke and said how I felt. None of us ever went to therapy. None of us ever did any of that. Sometimes I think back on, should we have maybe done that? I mean, we've kept it all bottled in for so long. And like I said, some of us went through the lowest parts of our life, and could, you know, therapy or something else could have helped us. But I mean, my biggest thing is honestly just to kind of take it day by day.
And this is the part where I want to bring in London on it, because how do you carry on her memory? And I know I can speak for your brother. You know, when we found out we were having a girl, we immediately said we want her middle name to be Bianca, to honor her. And I know that's how we carried on, you know, her memory. And I guess if you could just speak to like how you carry on her memory, you know, whether it be, you know, like birthdays, how y'all deal with, you know, the anniversary of her passing. That would be the question I have. Like, you know, how do you carry on her memory?
So I obviously, like, I'll go and I'll post pictures, and I'll only recently have I actually posted like what exactly happened. It was during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I mean, I have friends, and of course, nobody wants to ask, you know, what happened to your sister, what happened to your nephew, and I 1,000% understand. And so, like, I feel like it's my like duty to kind of make sure that like I let people know exactly like what happened. And like I said, I only just recently had posted what touched on what exactly had happened. But I like to, you know, post the pictures, post the memories, let people know like my sister was a good person. My sister would have been, you know, the best mom ever. And I just, you know, sometimes it's not exactly, I mean, maybe it is survivor's guilt, but a lot of the times I do have those days where I get upset because I'm like, you know, I have my daughter now, and being a mom has been the absolute best thing that has ever happened to me. And obviously, like, I live every day through my daughter. But sometimes I feel guilty that my sister didn't get that. You know, my sister didn't get the chance to, I mean, I know that she's in heaven and she's, you know, the best mom ever. And I just wish that she could be here, and she, you know, could see my daughter, could see the girls, could see, you know, Jamal's kids. And I just like, I live every day for my daughter. I live every day through my daughter. And I wish that my sister could be here for that, for these moments. You know, whenever I found out I was pregnant, the first person I wish I could have called was my sister.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's who, you know, you talk to, is your big sister, you know. And it's just every day I wish that she was here. So I mean, if I can, I will always, you know, post her pictures. I will always tell her story, because I want people to remember her even after 17 years. I want my daughter to know that her aunt would have loved her so much. And
that's what.
And the girls, I wish that she would have been here, because she would have been the absolute best aunt, the most involved aunt, the most involved mother. Like, she was the glue that kept our family together.
Yeah.
And when we lost her, I mean, we all we all love each other as a family. We all love each other more than anything, but she was that glue that kept us together, that kept us, you know, just grounded. Like she was the best. And I just wish every day that she could be here for us, be here with my daughter, be here with the girls, be here with Jamal's babies. And it's just, I will speak about her as much as I can to, oh, are you okay? I will do everything that I can to, you know, speak. Come here. Come here.
Oh, hi, baby. Hi, sweetheart.
You're beautiful.
Hi.
Hey, I'm all good. I'm strong like a
Cheetos all over her face. But I mean, I'll do everything that I can to make sure that, you know, her memory continues, and that people know that even though she's not here on earth, that she's still, you know, she's still here with us. She's still here with us in some kind of way. Like I always think that, you know, maybe she sent Genevieve to me, maybe they crossed in passing, like,
London just told me that. London just said that to me. She said that that's, you know, how you felt. And I believe it as well. I believe
and
it.
She knew that, like, she knew I needed her. And so I thank her every day for her. And so that's exactly how I felt. I felt Bianca sent her to me and she knew that I needed her. So I'm thankful for her every single day.
And that kind of leads into, I was going to ask one of these questions, like what you missed about her the most, but you kind of already, you spoke to that. But I really want to kind of segue into, you know, something that personified or, you know, was how Bianca was. So if you could tell London and us some of your funniest memories that you had, or your fondest memories. London and I talked about this as well, but I think that would be a good way to segue into kind of making it, you know, because you could never make it like a happy, there'll never be like, I guess, a happy ending to this. Yeah. But I think just if you could speak to some of your fondest and funniest memories, even for London, you know, for her to know about her aunt, that would be amazing.
She was that one that would always, I mean, I was pretty bad when I was younger. So she was always that one that would get me out of trouble. Like, you know, she would always get me out of trouble. I mean, anytime. There was one time, London, don't do this. But I don't even know how this worked. I remember one time I was at the mall with one of my friends, and I think my friend stole a cell phone case. And we got in trouble, and the people, the security cop, they were like, well, call your mom to come get you. And I don't know how Bianca passed for it, but we said, because my friend, she was white, so I was just like, say this is your mom, because they're not going to believe that she's my mom, even though my mom is white. Yeah. So I was like, well, we'll call Bianca. We'll pretend that she's your mom, even though she didn't even look old enough like to be a mom. And she shows up and she's like, what were you guys thinking? You know, giving us that whole spiel, like, get in the car, let's go, kind of thing. And then, like, you know, pretending to be a mom, but she got us kind of out of trouble that day. I don't even know if my mom knew about that, but that was like, I don't know how that worked. That was so funny to me. And then, I mean, like I said, she was just always there anytime you needed, like, her. I mean, like, you know, I was at, like, sleepovers, and I was like, hey, like, I really want to go home. Can you come pick me up? Like, she was just always there. And, like, and, like, whenever I would, like, because she lived, like I said, right up the street. So I would always go to her house, you know, just to kind of just, like, get out of mom's house for a little bit, get away from the boys and everything. And I would go up there, I would hang out with her, I would watch Friends, I would eat all her Hot Pockets, and she'd always be mad because I would eat all her Hot Pockets. But in return, I would wash her dishes because she didn't have a dishwasher. And like, it was just hanging out with her.
Yeah.
It's just, I just miss it so much. Like, I definitely, all of us wish that she was still here, because things would be so much different. Things would be so much better. I mean, we're not healed for sure. We're not healed at all, because I know that we are all to some degree still broken, but I know that Bianca wouldn't want us to be, hurting or anything like that. I mean, we still definitely hurt every single day, but we get by. So
yeah.
I mean, if I can end this on like any kind of note, I just want people to know that it's okay to grieve in your own way. It's okay to take as much time as you need, because I still have my days where I just sit here and I cry. I don't talk to anybody too much, because nobody, I mean, unless you kind of go through it, it's hard to obviously be there for somebody. And I don't expect people to understand what happened. I don't expect people to understand how to cope and how to help and things like that. But I just think that grief comes in different shapes and sizes. And I just feel like, you grieve in your own way. You take as much time as you need.
Yes.
And you do what feels comfortable for you. Don't let people tell you, it's been so long, how are you not past it? Don't let people say, well, this isn't what they would want, things like that. It's like, well, just let people kind of just take their time. And if they need you, they will reach out to you.
Yes.
I mean, I know that it's easier, like our family, we've all kept it in. Like I said, after 17 years, this is the first time we've ever actually like spoken about it. Yeah. And maybe we should have spoken sooner. But again, it's one of those things where it's just, you find your own time to actually talk about it and, get everything out there and feel comfortable with it. But I mean, like I said, if I could end it on any kind of note, I just want people to know that my sister was the best, kindest, person that you could ever meet. And like I said, she was the most nurturing and motherly person ever. And if you ever needed anything, she was always there for you. And, we all miss her. And, and Jamari, he would have been 17 this year. So he would have been coming up on graduating high school.
Yeah.
And
I'll see your age.
Yeah. So it's, it's hard, because, we think about the things that she's missed out on, that he's missed out on, because he didn't get a chance, he didn't get a chance at life, and he was, taken so soon. So it's just, I just want people to know that, she was a good person, and she would have been a great mom. And, I know she's a good mom in heaven to Jamari right now, but of course, every single day we wish more than anything that they were here with us.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I am extremely grateful for you agreeing to come and speak your truth, and your testimony speaks volumes. It's so hard for people to do, and the strength that you just displayed, I am 100%. I commend it 1,000%.
Yeah.
You
are going to touch so many people. You just don't understand.
I hope so.
So I know I came at you last minute. It was kind of one of those things where I was like, I don't know if I should ask, but I'm thankful. I think I'm more thankful that London got to hear, but yeah, we are very appreciative and thankful.
I'm glad that I could come
and
on
you're
here.
strong. You are strong, and you're a great mother. You're a great aunt. You're a great person. I've seen you grow. I was there
You've seen me. You've seen me at
early
my
stages.
worst. You've seen me at my worst, and
I see
you know,
you at
and
your fun phase. We'll just call it that, not your worst, your fun phase. But yeah,
yeah. I
I
mean,
appreciate.
people they grow. People
Yeah,
definitely grow
grow.
through grief, and I mean, like I said, after 17 years, we're still healing.
Yeah.
We're still healing however we can, but I mean, if this can help someone, whether it be through grief, whether it be through even, you know, domestic violence, because that's a very much real thing.
Yeah.
I just want people to know that there are options, and that there are options, and you know, nobody's going to be mad at you for reaching out for help. Nobody's going to embarrass you or anything like that if you need help or need to get out or anything like that, or even if you are in an instance where you're grieving and you feel like, you know, you can't get by because it's so hard, you know, reach out to someone. I mean, Thomas, I've been with him, we've been married almost 10 years now, and been together almost 12. And, you know, in the beginning, he's even seen me at my lowest points. And he, of course, it's one of those things where you don't know how to help someone, you know, because he's never really been through anything like that. But he was there and he helped me. And I've had friends that, you know, helped me in their own different kind of ways. So I just feel like if you feel like you need help, or if you feel like you need to talk to someone, like just you know, reach out, because you have friends that care about you, and you have friends that love you, and they'll be there for you. And like I said, he helped me, and he's not very he's not an emotional person.
No.
But like I said,
He's funny,
he got me through. He's funny. That's what I'm saying. He used a lot of humor to get me through some of the worst days. But you know, he stuck by me because, like I said, he's seen me at my lowest too, and he's been there. So I just feel like if you feel like you need help, feel like you need to talk to someone, don't feel like you have to keep it in. Make sure that you do, you know, talk to someone. Yeah. If you feel like it.
Well, we know that Bianca is loved and missed by so many. We know Jamari, you know, is loved and missed. And like I said, we just really appreciate and are so thankful for you, you know, speaking to it
and being vulnerable. You know, being vulnerable is huge
and authentic. And, you're gonna trust me. You're gonna touch, even if it's one person, someone's gonna relate to you. And
I appreciate you guys.
And that's why we really say in loving memory. So
no, I just, like I said, I appreciate you guys letting me come on here and letting me, like I said, after 17 years, we've touched on it, but we've never actually been so open and spoken about it. So I'm glad that I was able to kind of come on here and tell Bianca and Jamari's story. So I'm thankful that you thought about me, you know,
I was scared to ask.
I was scared to do it. I was scared to do it because I was like, I'm gonna cry the whole time. But you know, I am thankful. I'm thankful that I did it, because I'm not the best, you know, speaker. I'm so awkward, you know, because all I do is stay home with my baby all day. So I'm just like, you know, I don't interact with people as much as I used to. So I hope that I got, you know, everything that I wanted to say out there, got Bianca's and Jamari's story out there. And so I'm thankful that now my friends and people that I don't even know, or that people that knew Bianca and everything like that can hear just kind of like how we as the family are still dealing to this day with everything. And, you know, how, you know, everybody may look extremely happy on the outside and like they have the perfect life and everything like that, but a lot of people deal with a lot of things deep down. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you never know, like, always be kind, because you never know what somebody is dealing with. Somebody could be, you know, because like I said, people just go through things. And like I said, I'm just thankful that you guys let me, you know, come on here and tell
thank you.
Tell their story.
Yes. Thank you, Kia.
And we'll be praying.
Girl.
So we're gonna continue on. We're gonna let Lakia and Lady G have some more fun. And then we're gonna continue talking about some more. Thank you so much, Kia.
Thank you, Kia.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, y'all. So we're gonna take a deep breath and again, just appreciate that testimony that we just heard. It's close to home for me. So it was very hard to hear, and that was my first time hearing, different things. It was, you kind of, I don't want to say black out some memories, like she was saying that, you couldn't remember certain aspects that happened, and that is part of it. But I also want to share, so my uncle, who I adore, my Uncle Roger, he also wanted to provide his testimony. And I think when I spoke to him, he said, again, people grieve and process their losses differently. And so when I asked him the same questions that I asked Kia, here's his response. So, he wasn't able to join, but he did want me to share this information. And the little background is his oldest son, died in a car accident on Christmas Eve. Forgive me if I have the date wrong, but in 2009. Again, that shook our family to the core. I just remember, and a lot of us can relate to this, you remember that phone call. The phone call is what, just starts everything. And I just remember my mom, just that wailing cry that you hear, that is not good. It was the middle of the night on Christmas Eve. And I had just seen him earlier that night. We kicked earlier that night with him and his sister. And I believe that was a godsend because we got to spend, my mom, I forget who else was there, his sister, Kina, we got to spend those last moments with him. And it was just so calm. His demeanor was calm anyway. But I'm speaking about my cousin, Melvin, Mel V, Cash, just such a calm spirit, just so chill. But I do want to go ahead and just speak to what my uncle, his father wanted to share. He said that he felt sad before and after, but being a man, he felt like he had to be strong for his family. And you hear that a lot. That's why, when I initially started this episode, I was like, the gender roles, to me, they play a role, but really, again, we all grieve differently. But you see that a lot where the men feel like they have to be strong for the family, and then it gets internalized. So he said, another thing he says, he's older in life and he's been through a lot of funerals and they all hit hard, but it was different. With his son, it hit him the hardest because being a parent, you will always think you're going before your child goes. So that was something that really spoke to me because I couldn't imagine leaving this earth. I mean, my children leaving this earth before me. And we do know of people, who have also had that same experience. And I couldn't do it. I really couldn't. And that's just me being honest. But he also said that for him, he prays to stay strong and to try to move around and stay busy. Because if he stays in the house and doesn't do anything, it causes him to be depressed and he doesn't want to do anything. And that's kind of what Kia was saying, like she's just home with her daughter. And that's where people kind of seek refuge, like you seek refuge in that solitude of being to yourself because you don't know where to go. You don't know who can help you, how you can get help.
Right.
You just don't know what to do other than to just
be alone in your thoughts,
which is just staying in your own space.
Right.
He said he misses talking, seeing, hugging, and saying, I love you. It's not going to be one thing that's the most that, you know, he missed, but the list can go on and on. You know, there could be more things. So I wanted to share that. You know, my cousin left behind his children. You know, I know they miss him dearly. And like I said, burying your child is just something that, yeah, I pray that that's a hard one. I mean, any loss is hard, but Toya, I want you to kind of speak to the other ways, because what we've been talking about is loss and grief for those who are no longer with us, but there are also other forms of loss and grief.
So one thing that I noticed in just speaking with people in comments is, you know, people can grieve something that it's not gone. You know, it can be there. People grieve relationships, friendships, you know, whatever. They grieve job loss. They grieve that what happened, what did I do, you know? And so that was one thing that I thought was really important to bring out for ones that, you know, they're just dealing with things that you just can't express, because one, you think it's not a big deal. You think that it's not as bad as such and such, or that didn't happen to me, but kind of you minimize a lot of your feelings, even if you legitimately have feelings and you need to express them. So I thought that was really interesting, just grieving things that, you know, when you're not successful in something, when you're upset, when you didn't get that closure you needed from whatever you decided to do in life, or, you know, you feel like you're not at your peak or where you want to be here. You think, well, I'm almost this age, and, you know, you're grieving something that is holding you back, or you have the right to do that. So
or the way you thought your life was supposed to be. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like, because I'm very organized, as you know, and when things don't stay on the track, you know, that's when that grief process for me. So I want to share something with everyone, and we're going to link this in the chat on the YouTube once we upload this. And I found this. I actually spoke to my therapist. Therapy is amazing. I spoke to my therapist, you know, during my grief and loss of someone who was still alive, and this has happened twice. So when I spoke to my therapist, I was like, you know, I don't know what stage I know I've heard of the 5 stages of grief and loss, and she said, oh, you know, I just did a whole, you know, meeting about this. So it's by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She was a Swiss American psychiatrist, and she came up with the 5 stages of grief and loss. And so I'm going to share that now, and I'll link it. And I know when I was talking to my therapist, we kind of talked about how I felt like I was going through some of those stages all in one day.
Yeah.
It started one way, and then, you know, I ended up, it starts one way. Some days it's all in one day. Some days it's, you know, 1 week or whatever it may be. But I really just want to share this, and we'll link it. So let me just show this. So here are the stages. So there's denial. So that includes avoidance, confusion, elation. I was like, how does elation, how is that, you know, part of the denial? Shock and fear, anger. So frustration, irritation, anxiety, bargaining. This is one I had to really kind of look into, because I'm like, how are you bargaining? But I'll come back to this in a minute, because I understand it now that I've read more into it. So struggling to find meaning, reaching out to others, telling one's story. Depression is a big one, you know, just like my uncle was saying, overwhelm, helplessness, hostility, fight or flight.
Yep.
Acceptance is where you're kind of, you see as it goes up. Acceptance, exploring options, new plan in place, and moving on. So I know for sure that I've experienced every single one of these, sometimes in one day. And when I thought about the bargaining, I remember, like, it's kind of like where you're saying, let's say that you lost someone, a loved one, and you're like, God, if you take me, let them live and take me, or like in my situation, it's like, oh, well, if I would have done this, then, or if I agree to do this, then maybe things will work out. Or back in the day, like I was like, if I get along with this person, will you let my relationship work? You know what I mean? Like that's the main part of it. But I am thankful to say that I am in the acceptance phase. Toya, you know it because we brought that acceptance phase in last weekend.
Okay.
But I really wanted to share this because again, we try to provide resources to people who are watching this podcast. But we'll link this to the YouTube, so make sure that you go watch Pressure Unspoken on YouTube. And Toy, what we got coming up next?
Oh man, so we have to do our in studio because everybody is just raving about that. We are not putting that off. It is a scheduling situation. Everybody is excited, but we don't do anything halfway. So we really want to make sure that everybody can be there because there's a lot of, again, knowledge and talent and all these things that are going to pour out to enrich other people. So, I mean, we've got some quick, so what are we doing? Some word on the street, trigger words, where do certain words take you? So that's a good one. And we want, if we can do it live, if we have live comment, let us know what your trigger words are, what keeps you stuck, or what gives you the freedom to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, or what certain words mean to you. Like, for example, we'll say, what does monogamy mean to you? What does submission mean to you?
Okay. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, as my kids say, that, these YouTube connoisseurs. Like, share, subscribe.
That's right.
But thank you for tuning in to Pressure Unspoken, the podcast
you didn't know you needed.
Didn't know you needed.
That's right.
Bye, y'all. Be blessed.